Hello everyone, welcome to today's BOC Group webinar. I'm quite happy to see that all of you have joined us, and this will be a very interesting one. The topic of today's webinar is ADONIS NP 5.5 Unboxed, experience a new era of modeling. In order for you to follow today's webinar well, here are just a few tips to begin with. During the webinar, all participants are welcome to ask questions, of course. And to do so, please use the webinar side panel on the right side of your screen. Depending on the remaining time, we then select one or two questions and answer them live. For all other questions, we will contact you afterwards. As a participant of this webinar, you are, of course, anonymous to other participants. However, we can see who is attending this webinar today, and we are going to answer any of your questions, whether in live. If we don't have time for that, please be sure to send them anyway, and we will send you an answer via email afterwards. Few introductions. My name is Marin Tigvica. I'm your host today. I hope you feel comfortable in our virtual meeting room. As an expert on the topic, I also have joining me here my dear colleague Tom Brennan. He will lead you through the content-related part. Here are some of the things we will see. First, how SmartHover, which is one of the new features, makes creating process models even faster and easier. We'll talk a little bit about the Knowledge Center, which provides all users with useful and helpful tutorials, the extensions in the translation component, and a number of other changes to the user interface and the user experience. A little bit about BOC first. The BOC Group was founded in 1995 as a spin-off of the University of Vienna, and today has more than 230 employees in 8 different countries. We sell our products, implementation projects, and consulting services in more than 50 countries, building on the support of a very strong partner network. We are particularly proud that nearly 100,000 active users of our free community editions have registered worldwide. With this proliferation and experience of more than 20 years in IT-based management domains, we now have more than 35,000 installations of our commercial software products in companies all around the world. Our products from the so-called BOC Management Office are primarily aimed at facilitating changes in business and IT. We accomplish this by creating the necessary visibility into your process architecture or enterprise architecture that helps you better understand and control change. The portfolio includes the well-known ADONIS for business process management, analysis, and optimization, which we will be focusing on today. It also includes ADOIT for IT management and enterprise architecture management, and of course GRC for governance, risk management, and compliance. All of these products conceal a powerful common platform that allows tool users to model processes or architectures, create analytics and reports, assess risks, and more, all through a web-based approach. This platform is characterized by very high flexibility in the configuration and also allows implementation of very specific customer requirements and customizing should they choose to do so. The BOC Group does not leave you alone with the exciting challenges of the digital transformation, even beyond the products, and therefore also offers specialist advice, also some training and support, so to speak, everything from a single source. If you're interested in our portfolio, please feel free to contact us directly or visit our website for more details. Here are some ratings. First, our international customers, but also renowned analysts such as Forrester and Gartner, have become increasingly aware of us in recent years and are a positive testimony to the developments we have made to date, but also to our future plans. Please take a few minutes and browse through the respective reviews and reports on our website. Now, I won't stretch this any longer than it needs to be. Tom is already prepared and will guide you through the topic, ADONIS NP 5.5 Unboxed.
Okay, thank you kindly, Marin, for the introduction to today's webinar for ADONIS 5.5 Unboxed with the new era of process modeling. I would also like to welcome everybody from my side here in sunny Dublin today. We're very excited to have recently announced the release of ADONIS NP 5.5, and in today's session we will get to take a live look at some of the new features that have been included in this latest release. So what can you expect then from today's short webinar? I'm going to give you a quick rundown on all of the latest innovation highlights in the tool from both the Adonis user perspective, but also how some of the changes and improvements have affected the capabilities of the Adonis administrators. We'll then jump directly into the tool and see how the changes look in Adonis, focusing on the new SmartHover assistant for modeling, which really makes the task of creating your process models a lot quicker and easier, especially for the process modelers. I will also introduce the Knowledge Center, which provides all users with helpful video tutorials and other useful information accessible as a central resource directly from the web client. We'll also run through a use case for the extensions in document control and the translation component, and also just some general kind of changes to the user interface and overall user experience in Adonis. We will then finish up with just a quick overview of some of the other innovations that we won't have time to show in today's session, but you can always get in touch with us for a more kind of one-to-one demonstration later, and we will give you those contact details at the end of today's webinar. So successful BPM in Adonis is all about the kind of role-based stakeholder support. So we try and provide each stakeholder that has a need to use Adonis with basically the right information, trying to present them with the right information at the right time, and present it to them in a kind of an intuitive and easy accessible way, as well as providing the kind of best user experience when it comes to the functions of the software that are there to support each individual's use cases. So whether you are a process designer who's just tasked with creating the business processes, you could be involved in the release workflow process as a reviewer to check the content, to then reject or release your processes regularly, or you could just be a reader who must consume the kind of process information as part of your daily business. So Adonis NP is there to try and make your life that little bit easier, and advanced scenarios such as risk management with the governance, risk and compliance service, in addition to quality management and kind of audit preparation, are also very well supported by Adonis. So what are the latest innovations for all users in Adonis 5.5? Well, the main addition, the kind of flagship addition to this latest release, as I mentioned, is the modeling assistant, which we've called SmartHover. So the SmartHover will make your process drawing activities a lot quicker and easier, as the modeling assistant provides you with all of the possible process flow objects and relations that you can use to draw your processes, as well as some of the other key functions that can be called with a single mouse click. So we'll look into the actual possibilities and what's there with the SmartHover modeling assistant in the live demo shortly. Some of the other key innovations in the release is, firstly, we now have a release workflow mechanism especially for our document objects. So with an extension to the standard Adonis license, we can include the document release workflow to try and more easily manage and control the documents that are contained in your repository. With the document control, it helps your organization to keep track of changes and different versions of your documents in the course of a multi-level review, including kind of quality assurance prior to release. So it's similar to the release workflow process for models, but it's more focused on just documents. We then only display the kind of released information for our process readers who need to consume the content, and we automatically archive all documents once a new version is released. So similar to the model release workflow, it also kind of maintains the kind of audit-proof archive and historization for all of the documents that you have. The Knowledge Center, as we said, is the first place now to go to for both new and existing users. Provided you have an internet connection, you can now watch your short Adonis tutorial videos for all basic functions and use cases in the tool. You can also indulge in some free webinar recordings there as well, so that the link from directly in the web client will take you to our homepage, and the most up-to-date user manual and news document, which kind of outlines any of the major changes or improvements to the software, will also be available directly in the Knowledge Center. With the advanced translation features, which we'll again see in the demo, you have the ability within the search and analysis functionality as well to perform more targeted searches to get more kind of accurate results. And the number of search results that you can view has also kind of dramatically increased. So I think in the past it was only up to 1,000 entries, but we can now support up to 10,000 entries in the search results. So there's some improvements as well in how the results are presented, and the possible export options that you have as well available have increased. And as well, with a larger result set, the scrolling performance when browsing large sets of results has also been improved in the web client. We have a new look and feel to our standard reports, the standard PDF reports, and you can also now generate reports using the PDFA standard, which is used for a kind of a long-term archiving of documents. So together with the new styling, it's just another addition there related to our reporting. But we didn't forget the administrators, as I said, in ADONIS 5.5 either. So as a result of a lot of the new user functionalities, there's a knock-on effect for what's possible from an administration side. At the meta model rights level, ADONIS 5.5 makes it easier for our administrators to manage users who have been assigned multiple system roles, because now the default permissions that roles are assigned is set to not set rather than granting them full write access. So it just allows more control for the administrators when combining multiple roles. Similarly, the rights concept for both the document and model release workflow has been extended to now allow users who don't have a specific release workflow system role in either scenario, models or documents. We therefore grant them read-only access to models in all release workflow states and to all documents in all states as well. So this ensures that non-release workflow users cannot make any unwanted changes to models or even override any of the mechanisms that are available in the document release workflow. From an authentication point of view, there's been some improvements related to authentication when using LDAP coupling or a SAML. So we can now map authenticated users to an alias user. So this means, for example, that you could have a specific group of users who only need to use or only need to have access to the published content in the org portal just as a reader. And so we can now map a group of users to a single user who has access to a specific area of the org portal. So it just makes administration a little bit easier. And the SAML post-binding allows some flexibility when SAML-based authentication is used. So we can now contact the identity provider using just a HTML form, which is usually permissible in terms of company security policies to just restrict the issues we can have when it comes to organization security. We can now just use a HTML form for authentication. And there's also some configuration possibilities now in accessing the organization portal to increase its flexibility, as you can now block the just anonymous access and enable authenticated access for specific users. But you can also decide as an admin, again talking about the new PDF format, so you can decide as the admin if you would like all reports to be generated using the new PDFA standards. So and that's kind of what I need to go through for now in terms of slides. So we can now jump directly into our live demo in ADONIS. So I'm going to log in just as one of the power users that I have in the demo environment, and we've got multi-repositories. So I'm just going to look here in the standard repository. So for today's demo, we're going to use our fictional ADO Money Bank repository, and we know that the bank has recently defined how to create documents in ADONIS within the organization, and we now must prepare the process model and use any related documents that we have available as part of our process description. So to do that today, we're going to just jump into the model repository. Here I have just a template for a model already created, so we don't need to start from scratch. Just have a pool with a couple of lanes here for our ADO Money Bank with our author role and our reviewer and approval role in the second lane. So we can start here with just a start event in our process. So straight away you'll notice that once you drop the modeling object on, the modeling assistant or the SmartHover appears. So we can just provide quite quickly the name of our start event. So let's say a document is requested. And now we can decide from here using the SmartHover to start creating our process. So you may see, so what's presented, we've got the exclusive gateway, a sub-process, our task, but it's also included additional objects that we can create within BPMN, so choreography or a choreography task. So depending on what kind of mode you have set on the meta model will determine what objects are possible that appear here. So if I just check the mode over here, it's currently set to all classes, but today for the example that we have, we only need basic BPMN. So I'm going to just change the mode here. So you'll see now it changes what is presented in the SmartHover in terms of the objects that we can use. Similar to the kind of all the context menus within the tool, here we can see the three little dots indicating that there's some additional objects that we can also create here. So we've got a non-exclusive gateway or a note or a cross-reference, but we're going to just start by creating some tasks here in our process. So once you create the task, it also creates the valid relation from start event to our first task here. So the first task we need to do is create document. So I'm just going to create a series of tasks here to begin our process. So after we create the document, we need to fill the mandatory attributes. Okay, after we fill in the mandatory attributes that we need to document, we then can check the inputs to make sure everything is okay before we submit the task to review or submit our document for review. So really quite quickly, you'll see with the SmartHover function, you can really begin to model your process quite quickly. It allows you to just enter the name as you create the task, and you can see that the relations are created for you as well between the tasks in our process. Okay, let's add another task here that we can drag down into our approver swim lane here, so we can click on the task again, and this is going to be a task just to now check the document. One more task is if the document is okay, we're going to release it. And we can finish the process with our end event. So, okay, so simple process complete with an end event, and now you can also see what's possible following an end event. So we're not able to create any more tasks obviously here, so the two options here are for a note and for a cross-reference that pop up in our modeling assistant. Obviously here, following our check document task, we are going to either have a positive or a negative outcome here. So in this case, we need to add in our decision point, so we can use our exclusive gateway here in this case. Again, we can add a name, frame it as a question, so that is the document check okay? And we can also then name our two relations. So we'll follow up with the happy path initially, and then it's basically, we're going to say that one of the policies of the ADO Money Bank is that the document author must firstly check the entries that he adds to his document object, but also has to then review and correct the document information if the reviewer here has any kind of issues or complaints or rejects the document at this stage. So we can just finish our relation back up here to our author again, so we can say you must recheck your document here. Okay, and likewise, just to complete the process description, we can just add this as a no and place it beside our decision point here. Okay, so yeah, really quite quickly with the SmartHover, and we can have our process completed. It's not compulsory to use the SmartHover assistant, so if you would like to disable it, so if you would not like to use the SmartHover when modeling your processes, you can still use the modeling bar, which remains here on the left hand side, but in order to turn off the SmartHover, it's just available as an option here in your preferences. So preferences here is general, and we also have a modeling tab, and it's just an option here down the bottom, modeling, hover modeling assistant. You can activate it or deactivate it and save your changes, and then the modeling assistant won't appear directly in your model, but it's obviously nice at the moment to keep it active, especially for today's webinar. But yeah, as I said, you can still model using the objects here in the modeling bar. So if you wanted to just add an additional task in, maybe after filling the mandatory attributes, you want to upload a physical document. You can just add in another task there, as you would have done previously. The auto insert still remains as part of the functionality. Okay, so yeah, so within the two swimmer lanes that I have here in our model, we have one for the author and another for the reviewer. So we can see that I've already associated a role because it's coming up here in a blue text for author, so that we have an actual role associated with this swim lane, which we've called author. So to quickly assign responsibilities to each of the tasks that we have in our process, we can just right click here directly in the lane, and from the context menu we can assign responsibilities to all of the tasks in our process. So again, it's just a quick step rather than individually having to create the relation between the author role and all our individual tasks. We can just do it directly from here. If we want to do the same in the reviewer approver lane, we first of all need to associate the resource of the reviewer, which I haven't so far. So we can search for the reviewer or approver role, assign that to the particular reviewer approver lane, and then do the same step like we just did for, you can now see it now appears blue, so you can see that there's a role associated, and we can assign the same responsibilities to the tasks found, if I click it, here in this swim lane as well. At the moment, the modeling direction has been predefined in the administration toolkit for my environment here, so I've set it to model from left to right. So for example, if I wanted to add an additional object here, maybe a cross-reference to another business process directly from the end event, it's defaulted to place the cross-references below the happy path or below the process flow path. Likewise, if we wanted to add a note maybe to this check document task, we can add a note as well here, and the notes are also placed directly. So maybe you just want to add like a note to your model, which can be visible here as well, but just that anything that's not a process flow object is placed below the process flow kind of happy path here. But if you switch it around in the administration toolkit, if maybe you draw your models from top down, and then the notes and the cross-references will go to the left or the right of the process flow path. So just something to keep in mind. Some of the other functionalities that are available here. So obviously you have the context menu on the right-hand side to see what additional objects it's possible from the object you've selected. But on the left-hand side, we can click the little X here to delete the task from the process, or we can side to run a validation directly on this task. So if you click the validation icon here, our validation pane opens up here on the right hand side. So one of the checks here from a methodical perspective is that the mandatory attributes, so I haven't filled in a description here in the notebook for this check document task, so it's giving me a warning. But basically here on the right hand side we can now switch between the validation component and the collaboration pane using this little widget here, or the little toggle here. So once you hover over the icon, you can switch between validation and collaboration, or to turn it on and off you just click the button in the top. So previously in the previous release this button was placed over here on the left hand side, but it just makes it kind of easier for the user to switch between and toggle on and off from here in the user interface. Okay, and just to finish then, there's some additional actions that are possible. So you can generate a URL, we can move to the front or the back, we can open the notebook, translate option is available here as well, and update relations as well as move to the back. So there's different actions that are possible depending on which object you select using the SmartHover. So we have some additional things here as well as the modeling objects that you can use on the right hand side. Okay, so moving away then just from the modeling editor, we want to take a look now at some of the translation and document control functionalities that are available in ADONIS NP 5.5. So especially from the translation perspective, this application scenario is only going to apply to companies who are maybe operating in more than one language or have operations in more than one country. In this demo environment, I've got language support for German, French, Polish, and Spanish. So we can just run through a quick example here. But to do so, we're going to just associate a reference document here to our second task here in the process. So fill the mandatory attributes. So if we just double click on the task, we can open up our the notebook here, and we're going to create, so we're aware that there are some guidelines available for creating a new document. So if we just go to create the relation here to add the document, I'm just going to search for the guidelines, and here we can see what documents are available that has the term guidelines in its name. So what we're looking for is this guidelines for document creation. We can see there's two versions available. One is in an archive state and one is in a release state. So I'm going to select the release state here. So if we just close the notebook now, we'll see that a new icon has appeared. So this just lets you know that there's a physical document associated with this task or related to this task. If we click once on the icon, our download begins, so we can directly open our guidelines document here if we like in Word. But we've basically been made aware in ADO Money Bank that there has been some new updated guidelines available in the German language, and we need to make a change to the document object to include the German guidelines for our ADO Money Bank. So we can come here now to our Object Explorer. So with the Object Explorer, you'll notice if you've used ADONIS in the past that the button here for switching between the model repository and the object repository have now separate icons, so it just reduces you down to just having to switch between using one click rather than opening up the drop-down menu to switch between in the past. So here in the Object Explorer, we can just look for our guidelines document again, if I spell it right. So we can see in the top half here, we can already see that our guidelines for document creation is here in our archive, but we want to now make a change to the latest released version, which is our guidelines for document creation version 2. So we can see that it's here in a release state. If we open up the notebook for this document, So we can see I'm not able to edit it. It's in a release state, therefore it's in a read-only version. You can see it's locked as well with a little padlock icon, little red icon here. So in order to make a change here, we need to create a new draft version. So this is how we would go about creating a new draft version of our document object here in the document release workflow. So we can add a comment here, so new German guidelines are available. So once we create the new draft, we can see now how it's created here. So it's created with version 2.01, given the same name as our previous version. But to make the change, now we can use the translation component. So here from the drop-down or the context menu, we can open up our translation dialog here. So here we can see the most important attributes that we've defined that we think need to be translated between the two different languages. In this case, English is my primary language, and I'm using German as the secondary here. So here, if we click on our reference document attribute, we can see that there's a physical document here for the English guidelines, and we also have some German guidelines as well. So to make the change, we can just remove our reference to our German document and attach a new file here with a more up-to-date version of our German guidelines. Upload the file into the ADONIS database. It's now associated here, and we can close the translation dialog here for now. And we're now happy that we've updated the document object. So if we want to continue through the release workflow, we would just use the transitions here to submit to review. It would then be checked and then released if everything was okay. So we don't need to go through all of the transitions today. It's just to show you what's possible there. There are some other translation features available. So let's just take a look, go back to our model for a second, and now we can see how we could go about translating the full content of our model. So again, it's here in the context menu. We just click on the translate button here, and again we see all of our attribute information. Oh sorry, I think just go back to our model again. Sorry, I'd selected a lane, so it didn't show everything contained in the model. Just 1 second. So when you go to translate a model, it includes all of your objects in the model, but we can also use the drop down here to also translate information that may be associated with the relations. But when you click on a task, for example, it will provide you with the attributes that is possible to do the translation for. So first of all, it shows in your primary language check document, and it's now prompting you here where you would need to do the manual translation yourself if you wanted to be able to switch between English and German content. But here you can see all of the objects contained in your process as well as the relations if you expand the little drop downs here. But you can also hide the relations if that's not necessary during your translation. Turn off the show hide relations here and go about the task of translating all the content. So at the moment we obviously only just input the names of our tasks in our dummy model, but for any model contained in the repository you can run through the translation component like so. It's also possible to do some translation on the model and object repository. So again, if you wanted to keep the same structure or rename it the same structure that you have, you can select a single group in the model or object repository and just say you want to translate groups. So it'll include the processes group here, but all of the subgroups as well are included, so you can just jump down through each one. And as you can see, the German content is already available in our Addo Money Bank example. So all of the names here have already been translated, which allows us to then switch between German and English using the same modeling content in the repository. If you selected the other option here to translate models, it would look at all of the process models contained in this group and all of the subgroups and let you run the translation move through step by step and translate all the content that you have there. If we just do an example here, we can try and translate the models. It'll also let you know that it's not possible to do the translation on any of the release content because you don't have write access here. So it will just let you know what's where you're restricted based on what's released and what's not released from what you select in the dialog. Okay, so just back to our model again, we can open up our process model. So I mentioned in the beginning that we have some new report styling as well as the PDFA standard which can be used for any print documents in PDF, any reports. So we can just here run just a standard report for this process that we had. We can include the header and footer, and we can also decide to show empty attributes as well here using the content filter. But again, you see we've got one report being processed at the moment. So if you try to run a number of reports, you'll get an overview of their status here. So just with the new layout, if we just scroll out a bit, you get a new cover sheet here. You've got the date stamp. You can add some corporate identity with your logo and your company address. You then get just all of the information related to your process. You get an image of the process as well as all of the attributes that have been populated for the content of your process. There's also here the footer. Again, you just get some corporate identity, and you can see when the report was generated and what user generated the report as well. So by default, all of the kind of information from your process model will be published in a alphabetical order unless you actually go and order the objects in your process. So you can run a numbering function to actually order all of the tasks in your process, so then the report will follow how the process flows as well. Okay, just back to Adonis again and just look at the search and analysis functionalities. Sticking to the document theme, we can just search for the word document. So now within the search and analysis, as we said, we've increased the number of entries that will be shown. But here with document, it shows you, highlights where the word document is found. So it searches both the name as well as the description of all objects. But it also looks for the words that's found in any reference documents as well. If we open up the search options and filters, we can then kind of filter our search results here to narrow it down to what we're actually interested in looking at. So we can maybe say we're only interested in objects to begin with. And there's a new option here where you can actually narrow the scope of your search. So by default, it searches the full repository, but maybe you know where in your folder structure you would like to run the search. So we can just look here at our documents. So maybe we select documents, including all subfolders, and that will filter our search results here to only show where the word document is found in that area of the repository that we've defined. Here in the reference document, you can also, if we look at our guidelines for document creation, if you click here, you can also see where the term document was found in the reference documents and download it directly here. Again, it's just a way of accessing the same document we've seen earlier, but it just gives you an overview of where the term is found as well in the document that you have. Okay, and just the last thing I want to show here directly in the tool is just the new Knowledge Center. So again, if you want to get up to speed with Adonis, then yeah, the Knowledge Center here is the place to do so. We've got comprehensive tutorial videos there to help you basically learn on your own time and kind of as often as you like. Again, it's just once you're in the web client, you've obviously got your internet connection and you can watch the videos directly here. We also include the what's new information, so for each release of Adonis you can see what's changed over time, what's been added in terms of functionality. You can download the user manual, and you can also keep up to date with any upcoming webinars or events, or click on a link to bring you directly to our homepage where we've got some on-demand webinars as well. Okay, so that's the end of our kind of tool demo for today. If you just click watch now on the tutorial videos, it just jumps you down the page, gives you an overview of the videos that we have, and then you can open up the videos here to play them directly here. So if we just jump back to our slides, we just got a short overview of some of the other innovations that are part of this release. We touched on some of the user interface optimizations where some buttons have moved, and with the model and object explorers now have a button each to make it just quicker to switch between them. Again, for more multilingual use cases, we have an accent insensitive search, so it's let's say you're working in the French language as well, so if you search for the term role, the search will also return the term role in French that contains an accent on the O. We have smart connectors available when modeling, so Adonis will check what relations are possible between the modeling elements and only display the relevant connectors. We can now scroll through larger models. If you just hold down the spacebar and the left mouse button together, you can just move your mouse around and scroll through, so it's really a nice feature when you're working in a larger model, rather than using the scroll bars at the side or at the bottom. We have some font improvements, so all of your formatted text will now look the same whether it's in the web client or in your PDF reports. And if you have favorited an object and then replace it in the repository, the new object will also automatically become one of your favorites as well. So yeah, again, with opening documents, you can now select a range of document objects in the Object Explorer, and Adonis will display all of the referenced physical documents that are associated with those. So it's just quick here to see what documents are there and jump straight to the one that you would like to open. Yeah, more with the inclusion now of the document control, there's now more options available in the state filter to filter the repository based on both documents and models and their associated release workflow states. And with the HTML export, you can now configure a custom start page rather than the default search page that used to be the case when you generated your HTML. And with LDAP-S, so that's your LDAP over SSL, can now be used for encrypted communication with a directory service, as well as lots of other things that are there. But if you're basically interested in learning more, you can contact us by visiting our website, and you can take a look at the link here, so boc-group.com/what's new in Adonis, or if you'd like a more one-to-one live demo from one of our members of our sales team, you can just click on the contact link and arrange a session at your convenience. But again, if you're more self-sufficient and would like to just get a hands-on feel for the software, either before or after you have a live demo, we also offer a 30-day free trial of Adonis, which provides you with access that you can also share with 3 of your colleagues, so you really get a feel for the collaborative environment of Adonis for developing and working together on your business processes and your other organization's assets. Full functionality similar to the Adonis Starter Edition is provided as part of the 30-day free trial. And yeah, you can just sign up from our web page as well. Just add /Adonis to the home address for more details on that. So that brings me to the end of my part for today. So I'm now going to pass you back to Maren, who will conclude today's session. So thanks again, Maren.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for that presentation. So first, let's cover some events, webinars, and offers that are coming or that are available already. So to begin with, we have some thematic on-demand webinars, such as quality management and BPM, mastering the challenges of the ISO 9001, 2015, getting started with BPM, key factors for implementing BPM successfully in your organization. We have cross-domain transparency, we have optimizing business processes, and strategic process management. Do not forget that a variety of our useful articles and webinar recordings are already waiting for you in our online library, which you can take a look at on our website. Here are also some upcoming webinars. We have just one on the current horizon, but if more show up, they will be announced on our website. So on the 24th of May, we have a webinar on the topic of the digital advantage, how to manage digital transformation with BPM and enterprise architecture. And we also include specific examples and best practices of how you can align your company with the new circumstances of the digital era. Other than that, I would like to outro this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. For the remaining open questions, we will gladly answer by email. I'm happy to see that so many people took part today, and I hope that we could meet your expectations. Please do not forget to subscribe to our newsletter and to stay informed about free events and other interesting news. It gives me and Tom great pleasure to receive your feedback on this webinar. So therefore, you will receive an email from us in the coming days asking you for your opinion. Once again, on behalf of Tom and I, we wish you all a very pleasant day. See you next time.